Good morning. How are we today? Good? Good. So how awesome was yesterday? Who had fun yesterday? Yay, that sounds good. So I actually would like to kick off yesterday with something what I learned about yesterday. So in David's talk, he talked about feedback, and he talked about that high-performing teams give 6 times more positive feedback than other teams. So let's kick off this day with some positive feedback. I'd love to give a massive shout out to Jay, Narayan, and all the organizing team for putting this awesome event together. This is so awesome, so let's give them a huge round of applause. Okay, now we're talking about love. You guys know a thing or two about love stories, I guess. So today, I'm going to share my love story. There will be ups and downs, there will be passion, there will be betrayal. And I'll do my best to be as good as DDLJ, but I'm not sure if I can be. And let me give one spoiler alert up front. This is not a love story about my first love. My first love, my wife and my family. This is about my second love. My love about the problem and finding good solutions. So let me set the scene. Well, there's me. I'm Jurgen Spangl, head of design at Atlassian. Hello. And then there's Atlassian. And Atlassian builds collaboration and productivity software for teams. You might have not heard of Atlassian, but you might most likely use some of our tools. Jira, Conference, or Trello. And Atlassian was founded about 16 years ago by 2 engineers. And what they did, they built tools for themselves, for engineers. And they got incredibly successful with this. They built Jira, they built Confluence. And what's unique about Atlassian is we don't have a sales force. We have a different business model. So our software gets mostly sold via word of mouth. So this means the experience needs to be really good. And over time, our tools got used more and more by non-software developers. So we acknowledged this in our company mission. And we changed our company mission to unleash the potential of every team. And to be able to actually deliver this, we had to become an experience-led company. And that's not easy. And I will tell the love story today along this 6-7 year journey, which we have gone so far on this journey. We are not there yet. And finally, I'd like to introduce my love. So I met my love about 15 years ago. Simplicity on the far side of complexity. And that's something what stuck with me. That's something what inspires me, what keeps me going. And it's dear to my heart. But what does it actually mean? So usually when you kick off a project, you jump in there. You explore a few solutions, and then you go in and you realize something. Whoa, this thing is way more complex than I expected. And what you realized the real complexity. And you figured out that you had a way too simplistic solution for what problem you had at hand. And then, if you're passionate, you keep going. You keep digging deeper, and you embrace this complexity. And more often than not, you end up with a complicated solution. You embrace all the things, and that's what you end up with. And only very few people keep pushing. And they keep pushing and keep looking. And that's when you find a simple and elegant solution. You wouldn't have been able to do this from the very beginning, because from the vantage point at the very beginning, you couldn't have seen it. You had to go on this journey. And that's my love. My love to the problem and finding this simple solution. Scaling design and becoming an experience-led company is one of those complex problems. You need to change mindsets. You need to change organizational structure. You need to change many, many things. So let's jump back in time. The year is 2012. I just started. We had about 8, 9 designers. And here's a photo from our first offsite. We tried to figure out, how do we scale design? Of course, one of the things we looked into was, let's have a design system. Design systems are awesome solutions to scale design. And design systems are so hot right now, aren't they? But why? Why do you actually need a design system? What's behind it? Do we have passionate discussions early on? Do we need a design system at all? Should we build on top of something what's out there? Back then, Bootstrap was all the things. And we looked into what problems do we actually solve? And the first one and obvious one, that's why everyone wants a design system, is consistency, harmony. Back then, we had 44 different styles of drop-downs. And not just drop-downs, this was everywhere. And everyone in the company knew that this is not good. That's not good for the users, that's not good for dev speed. But stuff like this happens when you're a fast-growing company. The other and more challenging situation what we had is, everyone was talking about button colors and UI elements. And that's not what it's about. So we tried to do something, what could we do to shift the conversation? And we borrowed something, oops, one off, and we borrowed something from Donny Draper. He said this statement, if you want to change something, you change the conversation. And that's what we tried to do. Stabilizing the UI elements so that people finally start talking about, do we need a button at all? Do we need this dialogue at all? Do we need the screen at all? And over time, this started to happen. The other challenge what we faced was, how can we fire up other people? How can we get them as passionate about the design system as we were? How can we get them passionate about the problem what we are solving? So we went on stage for the company, at a company all hand, and we showed them the scale challenges what we faced. We grew a little bit. We were 12 designers and about 250 engineers, and we knew we could never hire as many designers fast enough to keep up with the hiring of the engineering. The other challenge what we faced, we had about 2,000 ecosystem developers back then, and hardly any one of them had any designers. So we had to find ways to empower everyone to make better design decisions so that we all can together deliver better experiences for our users and our customers deliver better experiences for their users as well. So in 2012, that's where we started. Our products don't look too similar to each other. And within a year, we shipped the first version of our design language to our products. To our 2 flagship products, Jira and Confluence, and to a few more products. This was a massive engineering effort. What they pulled up in a year on a roughly 10-year legacy code was mind-blowing. And of course, we also documented what we needed in the design language. For us, after many, many iterations, for us the best solution was to couple it tightly with the code so that we have one source of truth. One source of truth for the developers and the designers. So all is good, right? My love and I, we have a good relationship, all is rocking. Well, what if I tell you? Designing a design system is the easy part. Maintaining and adopting, that's where it gets really hard. And I've seen too many design systems fail out there. They look awesome. They never get implemented. Some of them get implemented once, but the majority usually gets stale. And this leads me to the second act, perseverance. So let's jump in time. A few years later, we're about 60 people. That's a photo from our yearly design week, where we fly all the designers, researchers, and writers in to learn together, to create together. And then we got hit by this. I hear this a lot. Design systems stifle innovation. Developers are telling me this, product managers are telling me this, and designers are telling me this. And to be honest, designers are worst. Pretty much every new designer who is more visually inclined, who joins our team, tells me about, yeah, font stack is a bit shit. Why didn't you use an 8-pixel grid and not a 10 or 12 or whatever? You're stopping me. I can't express myself. You're not letting me innovate. But now I tell them, sure, be my guest, go ahead. Try to change the font system. But be aware that you have to roll this out to all our products. But the real question is, why are people saying this? What is the problem behind? What are we struggling with? And when you dig deeper, you learn something. And what I actually believe is, design systems accelerate innovation. But the challenge is, too often they get stale and don't get updated enough. So how design systems usually work is, you update, you see some problems happening, and then you update something in design system, and then you push it out to the products. How we approach it is, we got inspired by open source, and we encourage our products and everyone to collaborate with us on the design system. So for instance, Confluence, heavily on commenting, they iterate on some design for the commenting pattern. And then they work together with the design system team and contribute it back into the design system team. And then we push it out to all the other products afterwards. And we keep constantly iterating on those things. That's easier said than done. You need to constantly maintain it and encourage people to contribute. But over time, a habit kicks in. The other challenge for becoming an experience-led company is, experience doesn't start and stop at the product. And very often product and marketing or product and brand aren't running on the same rails. They have their guidelines, we have our guidelines. They have their challenges, we have our challenges. We had similar challenges. We did all right, but when you look at the history of what happened on our website, to the very right, left from your side, that's how it all started. It was a website for developers. And then over time, in marketing, we learned to express our brand and the fun elements and not taking ourselves too serious. But we also had challenges in there. It was always very trendy, so it became stale fairly quickly and we had to constantly change. To overcome this, we got the two teams together. We did a couple of design sprints and we explored extremely broad everything. We looked into everything, we turned everything around, checked whatever we could do. And we would have loved to change all the things. But then we realized something. We as a company weren't ready yet. Our understanding for brand and for how this all plays together wasn't done yet. We weren't there yet. Plus, our customers weren't ready either for a massive change. So what we did is, we took the best parts and the ones which are most important to align the two systems and rolled them out. And then, of course, we updated our system. We documented all those things. We added new sections for brand and marketing, and we learned, what does it actually mean, rolling things out to a marketing environment? What does it mean, rolling things out to physical objects, to advertising? And we were comfortable of having a system and a design language which is aligned, but potentially a bit boring and not where we wanted it to have in the long run. So be real about the challenges. Doing something massive, tackling big problems, take time. Embrace those challenges. So talking about real, let's get a bit more real. Let's get spicy. That's what you have all been waiting for, isn't it? Betrayal. Now we're getting to the pointy end here. Again, we jump in time. The year is 2017. We're roughly 140-ish designer. And then we got this. Ouch. That's what we got as feedback for our second version of the design language. We got tons of positive feedback. But we also got this. And no, that's not the betrayal. I wish it was. The betrayal is way bigger and way harder than this. So they were right. Our design language wasn't simple enough yet. It was fairly utilitarian. It was boring. We had to move it to the next level, and we wanted to move it to the next level. So, the good thing is, we were ready. We had the experience, of rolling design systems. We had very good collaboration going on between designers and engineers. We had good collaboration going on between product and marketing. And we had everything documented. And in parallel, a couple of other things also happened. We changed our company strategy, and design was spearheading, visualizing this vision, how we go forward, where we are going. What do we need to create to build products which help all the teams, which unleash all the teams? But to roll this out, this large new vision, we needed a new language. What also happened in parallel was that we started to embrace technology differently and embrace new technology. We moved our 10, 12-year-old products by then over to AWS. We started to decoupling them. We decoupled front-end and back-end. We embraced mobile a lot more. And we also got stronger on the brand perspective. We came up with good brand promises which we believed in. So we were ready, and off we went. That's Bitbucket, one of our products, and we rolled out the new change. And we introduced a lot more worms. We cleaned it up, we changed the navigation, we focused a lot more on the people. And that's the feedback what we got. People were blown away, they loved it. They wanted to see more of this. And we were inspired by this, and this kept us going. And then I jumped on stage in front of 1,500 people, and I shared our design journey. I shared what we went through. I shared what's coming. I shared a similar story what I shared here. And I even nerded out on design. And people loved it. They were eating it up. They couldn't wait. They wanted to see a Jira, a Confluence out there. So with all of this, we got very confident that we are onto something. We are onto something and it feels right. We moved it even one level up. We debated, should we rebrand the company for multiple years? That's a scary thing to do. The majority of rebrands fail. But we jumped in and we did it. We did the bold move and we rebranded the company. And I want to roll a short video how we shared the new brand identity. Thank you. And we got about the same from our customers and users out there. They loved it. Everyone loved it. The design community loved it. Usually when you do a rebrand, very often you don't get too much good critique from the design community. They all ate it up. They loved it. We loved it. And this meant a lot to us. We were proud of it. The company loved it. I loved it. And of course, we updated our design system as well. We documented all the things, the new illustration style, the tone of voice, all the different angles. And we rebuilt the whole front end in React, and the whole system is built on top of React now. So we were ready to push it out also to our flagship products. We started with Confluence. That's where we came from, and that's where we moved to. So much cleaner, so much nicer. Look at the navigation. Everything is built up beautifully. The feedback was positive. But then something happened as well. Mixed feedback came in. People were saying, we can't find stuff anymore. Bah, change a version. Mine you love doesn't have problems. You expect change a version. When you roll something out, you get some negative feedback. NPS goes down a little bit over whatever experience metric you're using. It's usually coming back up again if you have done it right. So let's move forward. Jira was next. Went from this to that. And what we did in Jira was even more. We didn't just change the design language and the navigation. We changed the whole conceptual model behind Jira. We changed the board experience. We changed the issue experience. And we also learned from Confluence. We got way better in rolling out the change. We put it in smaller cohorts. We listened to feedback. Again, people loved the clean look. They loved where we are going. But the feedback again, we can't find stuff. What's going on? Why are they not loving my love? And then it dawned on me. And I have a confession to make. I cheated on my love. I cheated on my love. The solution lured me over. I cheated on my love for the problem. And the solution, the design system, lured me over. And this was brutal to accept. So let's go to the next one. It took me multiple months to overcome this. I consider this as the biggest learning/failure in my career. I didn't know what I did. I thought like many sleepless nights. What could I have done differently? What happened there? So what we did, and what I did was, we ran multiple retros across the teams. This was roughly a 2-year project. We didn't even know how to figure out, to understand what went well and what didn't. And then I shared openly with the company in a blog post my reflection on it and what we learned. And this blog post went to about 3,000 people. That's the size of the company we are by now. And I'd like to share a few things. One thing what I get asked a lot is, would I do a massive redesign like this again? Hell yes. Of course I would, but I would do it slightly differently. The thing what happened, and I believe what's relevant for this room, because there are many, many things which are just relevant for a certain context, is we were a tick too bold. Our brand personalities are bold, optimistic, and practical with a wink. And we needed to be bold and optimistic. Our language was bland, so we needed to move it forward. We needed to differentiate it. But we didn't need to be that bold for the navigation. We should have been a lot more practical. And that was my mistake to make. The other thing is, what I would do differently is, we rolled out way too much change at once. Especially when you work in enterprise software, people are paying for this. This is not consumer software where you pay with your eyeballs. They're paying for this. They don't want to constantly relearn new things. So I would sequence the changes way more better. But the most important lesson is this one. Being in love is the problem and not the solution. And if you take only one thing away from this talk, make it this one. You all might think you're designing products or websites, and you do. But you also have a relationship. And you have a relationship with your problems and a relationship with the solutions. To make it count. So, how are we doing? How's my relationship going? Well, we're getting there. We started to acknowledge the problems. We started to implement the changes. And the feedback is improving. NPS is turning around. And we're getting there. And most importantly, I'm starting to fall in love again with the problem and not the solution. Thank you.
My question to you is like, see, today you've kind of built the entire components on React. So React.js or native and all that. So a lot of programming, languages are changing. For example, Dart is right now in the market. And what are the challenges that you see? Probably we just almost spent 2 years in building such a great system. And probably there's a new system like Dart which gets in, where it just has a connectivity to the server, mobile, web, and plus another 1,000+ issues that we need to kind of handle. How do you go about facing these challenges?
Brilliant question. So there are massive challenges in there. From an engineering perspective, like from an engineering perspective is, how often do you refactor? Should you rewrite from scratch? And those discussions constantly come up. What we are trying to do and what we try to do, how to build up the system is, I work under the hypothesis that you have larger design changes every 5 to 7, 8-ish years. Not rebranding. Rebranding is like you do as rarely as possible, but just changing the language and what's out there. And the reason why I believe it's roughly 5 to 7 years is trends are changing, technology is changing, and so you constantly need to keep up, otherwise it doesn't matter how good your product is, it just becomes perceived worse. So that's why we focus so much on the collaboration elements, like of having the contribution from product into design system or platform. And the other one is adoption, especially when you deal with legacy product in Jira. Like Jira has thousands of screens. It becomes harder and harder to move the screens which don't get used that often onto the new system. And then you have the next challenge in there, because then you have inconsistency with one product, not just across products, because it's too costly to update it. And quite frankly, I don't have a good solution yet for it. I think we just keep scraping away on the problem and trying different ways and new ways.